Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Rubric Tools for Google Docs. This session is part of a series of free webinars offered every week or two by the Stark Portage Area Computer Consortium, or SPARC for short. SPARC is an information technology center here in Northeast Ohio where we support about 30 school districts. However, this webinar is open to everyone, and we'd like to welcome all the people who have joined us live today or are watching this recording in the future. My name is Eric Curts, and I'm a technology integration specialist here at SPARC, and I will be your presenter for this session today. My colleague Anthony has joined me here as well. He will be manning the Q&A document, which we'll talk about in just a moment. All of the information for today's webinar can be found at tiny.cc/sparc219. That's tiny.cc/SPARCC 219. And I would encourage you to go to that site if you've not already done so. If you're watching the video live, you're probably already there. But if not, if you're watching this later, that is the website where all the resources are at. And I'm going to head out there right now to show you what you're going to find on that site. So let me go ahead and click on over to there. So tiny.cc/sparc219 will take you to our tech integration site where you'll find all of the resources for this session today, including the live video stream, which you're watching right now, and that will become the recorded video after the session. Any help resources related to the session. Below there is a live session chat document. This is the one that Anthony is keeping an eye on. If you've got any comments or questions or things you would like to mention during the session today, please go ahead and open up that chat document. Feel free to type in there, and Anthony will either answer those questions or relay them on to me, or you guys can answer each other's questions. That's fine as well. Below there is a link to the session evaluation. So after this is all said and done, please give a quick click on that. It's a very short evaluation form, but we love to get your feedback. Helps us improve these webinars. And then last but not least, at the bottom, an opportunity to get credit for this. Yes, you can take a very quick quiz at the end of the webinar here at the bottom, and then earn a certificate of attendance for 1 contact hour. That'll get emailed to you as a PDF certificate after you watch the video and take the quiz. Now, while you're on the tech integration site, we certainly encourage you to check out a few other things there, including the PD schedule link that shows any upcoming webinars, the recorded trainings link that shows you previous webinars that we've done, the newsletter link that allows you to sign up for our SparkLines newsletter so you'll always be up to date with our latest tech integration information, never miss out on an upcoming webinar. And there's even a contact link so you can get in touch with us if you've got any questions or comments and would like to reach either myself or Anthony. All right, very good. Well, let's get back to the presentation. Today, our agenda, we're going to start off with a really brief chat about rubrics and what they are and why they're good. And then we're going to spend the majority of our time looking at rubric tools, actually 3 of them that can be used with Google Documents. We're going to look at Orange Slice Teacher Rubric. We're going to look at docAppender and a combination of Doctopus with Goobric. So if you're not familiar with any of these, no problem at all. That's what we're going to be covering today as far as the special tools for using rubrics with Google Docs. So what do you need to be successful in this session today? Well, you're going to need to have a Google Apps or a Gmail account. So either your school provided Google Apps account would be great, or just a personal Gmail account is fine. You are going to need access, though, to a few things: Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Forms. We'll be using all 3 of those at different spots throughout the training here today. And you do need the ability to install add-ons and extensions. Most of these tools we're looking at today are actually add-ons, and one of them includes an extension. So again, if you're just using your personal Gmail, you're fine. If you're using a Google Apps account from school, make sure your school administrator has given you the ability to install add-ons and extensions once you get into that. All right, good deal. Well, let's go ahead and start with our rubric overview. Now, my guess is if you're watching this webinar, you probably already understand what rubrics are, and you're probably sold on them. You think they're a great thing, but just in case anybody's a little new to that, just as a quick overview, basically a rubric is an evaluation tool, something you're going to use to grade student work. What makes it different from other evaluation tools is that it uses a range of criteria rather than just one score to assess the student's skills or their performance. And it's done on a continuum, usually from high to low, excellent to poor, something like that. So a rubric might look like something on this next slide here, where you see I've got some criteria down the side. This would be for like an essay, for example. Ideas, organization, word choice, mechanics. And then going across here, I've got a 4, 3, 2, 1. Now these don't have to be numbers. These can be, excellent down to, needs improvement or whatever. So it can be words or it can be numbers. Either way is fine. And then where these intersect in the grid, you have nice descriptors. So it's not just, well, you got a 3 on ideas. Well, what does a 3 mean? Well, it means presents ideas in a consistent manner. So you've got a better descriptive a better description of each of the different levels people can achieve when using the rubric to grade their work. All right, so that's an example of a rubric. I mean, they can look very different than that, but that's the gist behind it. Now, there's a lot of great reasons to use rubrics. And again, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, but we'll just run through a couple real quick. Certainly, they're great because they let students know what is expected. If a student sees the rubric before they start an assignment, they know exactly what you're wanting out of them. They're not going to be surprised when you grade it. They are going to work to achieve the highest level of these different criteria in that rubric. It also can help you the same way. Since you know what the rubric's going to grade, it can help guide your instruction. You can make sure that, did I cover everything I need to cover as I'm presenting this material? Because I know the rubric is going to be judging them on that. This is also a great way for kids to become self-reflective. So when they are working on their assignment, they can kind of assess themselves and say, am I doing what I need to do to earn the grade that I'm looking for? Am I showing mastery? When you do grade it, it gives them a very detailed assessment. They're not just getting an A, a B, a C. They're getting a lot of information onto how they did on it. Now, this also helps remove bias and encourages consistency. And what I mean by that is, come on, we're all human. You're grading a paper. Other things come into your mind that affect how you assign a grade. Well, a rubric can help cut that down a bit because you're going to be judging the student based on these very specific criteria. And then it helps a lot from student to student because you're using the same detailed criteria from one student to another student, or one day to another day, or, one class to another class. And then finally, you can reuse a rubric. If you develop a really good one, it can be general enough that it can apply to a lot of subject areas or a lot of different assignments. So those are a lot of the benefits of rubrics. Now, there certainly are challenges as well. And the biggest one is typically these aren't easy to set up. It does take time, to develop and try out and update and tweak a really good rubric. It's going to take you a little bit of time to do it well. And it can be difficult to develop those very descriptive, high quality criteria rather than just the normal 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're actually filling in all of those descriptions, to do that well can take some time. Now, thankfully, there's hundreds and thousands of rubrics available online that you can pull from. But yes, that still is a bit of a challenge. Well, with all that said, though, I hope we all agree that it is a great thing to use with our students. And it doesn't matter. We're not just talking English and essays. Rubrics can apply to any subject area, any sort of project the students are doing where you've got multiple criteria that you're looking at for that. So I definitely don't want to limit this just to essays, even though, yes, today the example I'm going to use is grading an essay, but that's just for simplicity's sake. Please do realize rubrics can be applied to any subject area, as we said just a little while ago. All righty, so what can we do to help us with these? Well, if you've done rubrics in the past, my guess is it might just be a paper rubric, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You might just have a paper and you fill it out and you attach it to the student's work. That's fine. But what if you've gone Google? What if you've gone digital? What if kids are using Google Docs to turn in their assignments? Well, there are some tools that can help us with that. And like we said, we're going to look at 3 of them in this session today: Orange Slice Teacher Rubric, docAppender, and Doctopus Goobric. So with that in mind, let's get on with the session. We're going to dive into these rubric tools. Do not forget, all of the resources can be found at tiny.cc/spark219. All right, let's get going. So here's what I did for today. I went ahead and I created a fictitious assignment inside of Google Classroom. So this is sort of, I always use the analogy, this is sort of like a cooking show. I have pre-baked many of these items. I pre-mixed many of the ingredients to try to save a little time here today and help us get just down to the meat of this. So inside of Google Classroom, I have created a class for our session today. And in there, I've added some students, just some pretend students, so some test students here. And then I've created an assignment, an essay assignment, very simple essay assignment, which is basically just please write your essay below. So very, very simple. Again, I'm trying to keep it very quick and simple for our examples today. I then had all 9 fake students complete that assignment. So if you come here, you'll see there are 9 students that are done, and there's all of their essays. Now, this does not have to be done with Classroom. Absolutely not. You could have kids turning in their Google documents just normally by going to the share button. Not a problem at all. Now, I'm going to use Classroom today just because it's nicely organized. And hey, we just did a webinar on Classroom. So if you have not seen that one yet, don't forget under our recorded trainings, there it is, Google Classroom Overview. So catch that if you're still not sure about using Classroom yet. That'll get you started on that. So I've already created all of the essays, filled them out, they're all submitted, they're ready to be graded, okay? And so if I come in here and open up any one of them, I'll just come in here and open up test user 1, and you'll see there is his essay, very simple, just use the lorem ipsum type of stuff to fill in a little bit of fake information there, but there is the essay to be graded. Now, don't forget, I could also access these same files, not in Classroom, but in Drive. So Google Classroom basically just sits on top of Google Drive. If I went to my Drive and I went to my Classroom folder and I went down to Rubric Tools for Google Docs and I went down to the essay assignment, there they are too. I could come in here and I could just as easily open up the essays from there. So I don't want you to think you have to do this from Classroom. This will work from pretty much any way that you want the kids to turn in their assignments. All right, so with that said, let's look at our first tool. Now, our first tool is one called Orange Slice Teacher Rubric. All 3 tools we're looking at today are quite different. Now, they all do the same thing. They're rubric tools, but the way they go about it, quite different. So let me, on each one, I'll try to emphasize what makes it unique. So Orange Slice is a add-on for Google Documents. And we're going to see each one's different. One of these works with Docs, one with Forms, and one with Sheets. This is specifically, Orange Slice is an add-on for Google Documents. And we're going to install it together. You'll see the whole process. The way that this works, the requirements to use Orange Slice is 3 things. First of all, well, you've got to have something to grade. Well, we've already got that. You have to have some Google documents that you're going to grade. We've already seen that. There they are. There's all my essays just sitting there waiting for me to grade. So check that off the list. We've got that. The second thing, though, is you have to have a rubric that you have already created, and that rubric has to be saved as a doc, okay? It's going to be different for each tool. For this tool, the rubric must be saved as a Google Doc. If you've got it as a Google Doc, then the last thing you need is you need to install the Orange Slice Teacher Rubric add-on, which we're going to do in just a moment for Google Docs. And then you're golden, you're ready to go. So let's go ahead and do all of that together. So we've got item 1 already done. We've got the items to grade. We need item 2, a rubric saved as a Google Doc. So here's the key to that. I'm going to start to create one, and then I'll bring out the finished one. Again, I'll show you how it's done, and then we're going to grab the one from the oven that's already been baking. So first of all, if I come here to my Drive and I say I want to make a new Google Doc, you would have to do this at some point. You would need to build your rubric inside of Google Docs. Now, the way that it works with Orange Slice is you are instructed to create a rubric as a table. As long as it's a table, that's fine. It doesn't matter how many columns, doesn't matter how many rows, it just has to be a table. So if I come here to Google Docs, and let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this a little bit better here. There we go. If I go up and click on Table, Insert Table, and let's say I wanted to make a table that was, 5 by 5, I could do that, drop that in there, boom, there's my table. Now, what you would do is you would put in your values across the top. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, or again, descriptors, from poor to excellent or whatever words make sense there. And then down the side here, we would put in things like word choice. I'm not going to really fill all this in. You get the idea, but word choice and so forth. And you would fill in those down the side. And then in the middle, of course, we would type in the actual description of, how they met that criteria. Now, that's fine. That's great. So you can build that. The one thing you got to do, the one thing you have to make sure that you do here is you have to put in this top left-hand corner, you've got to put in the word rubric categories. So you have to type in rubric categories, spelled exactly like that, if I can spell it right. Rubric categories. That is key because the add-on Orange Slice, it looks for those keywords. You can't spell it rubric category. You can't leave out the space. You got to spell it exactly like that. That's like the key. That's the thing that says, hey, Orange Slice, here's the rubric. So like I said, I've already made one ahead of time. So let me drag it over and drop it in here. There we go. So this is the one. We'll get rid of this other one. Here's the one I actually created ahead of time. So there it is, rubric categories in the top left. Got my different categories down the side. I've got my levels going across, got my descriptors in the middle. So there we go. So that's 2 steps. We've got the docs to grade. We've got a rubric saved as a Google Doc. Now, the last thing I said we needed to do is we needed to install a special add-on called Orange Slice Teacher Rubric. Now, it doesn't matter when you install that. You can install it while you're inside of the rubric. You can install it while you're inside of one of the students' essays. You can install it in a blank doc. You just need to install it once. As long as you've installed it once, you're great. So I intentionally uninstalled it so I can reinstall it for you here today. So let me show you how that works. And by the way, add-ons, yep, you know what I'm going to say. If you want to learn more about them, yeah, we've got a recorded training on that back very early on. We've got supercharged Google Docs with add-ons from back in January. So be sure to check that webinar if you want a little bit more help there. So I'm going to go ahead and install this real quick, though. If I go to add-ons, I'll go down to Get Add-ons, and I can either scroll down to find it, or I can just type in Orange Slice, or I can type in Rubric. I'll just type in Rubric, and there it is, Orange Slice Teacher Rubric. All I have to do is click on the plus free button, and it'll say, are you sure you want to install this? I'll say, yes, I do, and it will go ahead and install that add-on for me. That's a one-time thing. You don't ever have to install it again. Once you've done it once, it's done. You've got it. It's ready to be used. All right. So how do we use it? Well, this is the way it all comes together now. So I've got my essay to grade. I've got my add-on here, Orange Slice, installed, and I've got my pre-made rubric. So what you do is you simply copy and paste your rubric into the essay you want to grade, and then you fire up Orange Slice. And that's about it. So I come here, grab my pre-made rubric. Just going to do a Control-C, Control-V, or you could go Edit Copy, or you could right-click and copy, whatever method you like. I'll just do Control-C, Control-V. Come over here to my essay. I'll throw this down at the bottom here, Control-V, blurf, paste that in. There it is. So now I've got their essay with my rubric down at the bottom. All I have to do now is go up to Add-ons, go down to Orange Slice, and say Score Rubric. What it's going to do is it's going to pop up a panel over here on the side where it's going to give me the option to grade my rubric. But what it's done is it is scanning down through my document to find a table that says rubric categories. And as long as it finds it, then we're good to go. Now notice it does throw another table at the top called grade. That's where the grade will go when we're finished. So what it's going to ask me to do now is decide, is this what type of rubric, analysis or holistic? Analysis is where you get like an overall percentage grade. Holistic is where it tries to pick an overall 1, 2, 3, 4 type of a grade. And we can do both so you can see. So for analysis, it wants to know how many points is this worth? Well, it's a 1 to 4 with 4 categories. So that's worth 16 points. Throw that in. All right, give it a second. Excellent. So I told it it's worth 16 points. Scroll on down and click on finished. And I should be ready to grade it now. So let's go ahead and come up here to my grades, and you'll see right underneath settings, I now have a section called grades. And there's my ideas. It sucked all of those in. There's organization. It sucked all of those in. There's word choice. There's mechanics. It read all of those right from my rubric. So under settings where it says grades, I can now grade it. I'm going to give you a 4 for ideas, going to give you a 3 for organization. Let's do a 2 for word choice, and we'll do a 4 on mechanics. And so I can go ahead and grade all of those right there on the side, go to the very bottom, hit process grade. It's going to chug away. And once it's done, you'll see it's going to update two things. First of all, at the bottom, it is now highlighted all of those different rubric categories so the student can see how they scored. And at the top, it has inserted the grade. Now, because I did the analysis option, it did an overall percentage. So they got 13 points out of 16, or an 81%. If I switch it over to holistic and just go ahead and regrade it one more time. So we'll switch to holistic here real quick, and we'll go ahead and process the grade one more time. You'll see that what it does is it takes those same grades, and instead of giving them a percentage, which is still there, it now adds an overall grade on this scale of 1, 2, 3, and 4, saying you basically got a 3. You averaged out to pretty much getting a 3 on there. And that's it. That's how Orange Slice works. So the key is you create one or many rubrics. You can have as many of them as you want, okay? Anytime you need to use one, you copy and paste that rubric. Make sure rubric categories is in the top left. Copy and paste it to the bottom of a document. After that, go ahead and run the Orange Slice add-on. Tell it how many points it's worth. Fill out the grades. Hit process grades, and you're done, okay? I can show you one more real quick just so you can see that without me pausing every few moments there. So that was test user 1. Let me go ahead and grab a different student real quick. So we'll grab test user 2, and I'll just show you that really fast as well. So if I come over here, we'll grab the rubric real quick. We'll copy the rubric. We'll go to the bottom of the essay. We'll paste it in. We now go add-ons, Orange Slice, score rubric. It pops up, asks us what type of a rubric this is. We say it's an analysis rubric for 16 points, for example. We go ahead and hit finished. And now we come to the grades section under settings, and we score them. So a 2, a 1, a 3, a 2, process grade. It's going to color those in and put the grade at the top. So there, they're all colored in at the bottom, and there's the grade at the top. All right, so that's Orange Slice. We'll go ahead and say goodbye to Orange Slice, and we'll move on to our second tool. So Orange Slice, the key is you're using Google Docs to hold a rubric, and you're using an add-on for Google Docs to grade with that rubric. All right, the next one we're going to take a look at is one called docAppender. Now, docAppender is similar in that it's a rubric tool, but there's quite a few differences here. For docAppender, yes, you still have to have your Google Docs to grade just like normal, so that's no different. Those are our essays. But notice this, the rubric is saved as a Google form. Aha, so there's our first difference. So before we saw Orange Slice, the rubric is saved as a Google Doc. Here, nope, the rubric is actually saved as a Google form. And then when you go to use it, the add-on that you're using is not an add-on for Google Docs. It's an add-on for Google Forms called docAppender. So the actual rubric grading is being done from a form, and then it's being put onto a doc rather than actually being done inside of the doc. So a little different mechanics there, all right? So let's go ahead and try that out. So step 1, we've already got that covered, a Google Doc to grade. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of them. There's all of our essays. We've all got them there to grade, okay? So step 2, we need a rubric that is saved in Google as a Google form. Now, if you don't know much about using Google Forms, yeah, you know the drill. Go to our webinar page. I've got a webinar on online assessments with Google Forms back from March, and advanced online assessments with Google Forms in May. Both of those focus on assessments, but they cover a ton of form stuff. So if you don't know much about forms, loads of resources there. Well, what I need to do is I need to create a Google form. Again, I'm going to show you real brief, then we'll bring in the already finished one. So I'm going to go over here to my drive, go new, go down to more, and go to Google Forms. I'm going to create a Google form. And for that Google form, again, I'm very quickly just going to throw in a couple of things to show you the gist of this. What you got to have, if you're making a rubric for docAppender in Google Forms, got to give it a name, of course. So we'll just call it we'll just call this test rubric so I don't confuse it with other ones that I've got here. And then you need to have one question before your rubric questions. And the one question you have to have is something along the lines of select document. Of course, it helps if I spell it. We'll try that, right? There we go. And it really doesn't matter. You can call it whatever. It's not like Orange Slice. It doesn't have to be an exact certain phrase, but you have to have a question in there. And that question probably should be a choose from a list question. That's, I think, the easiest way, because what's going to happen is this add-on is going to pull in, it's going to suck in a list of all of your students' essays that you need to grade, and it needs a question to put those into. It needs somewhere to put that list. So you basically create a dummy question called select document, maybe select document to grade, for example. That's fine. And then let choose from a list be the type, although you could use, multiple choice, but I think choose from a list makes a lot more sense. And you don't even have to fill it out. You can just, hit done, because it's going to fill it out. So that's the first question. After that, your next few questions are going to be the rubric. So you'll come in and you'll add like a multiple choice question. And for that one, maybe you'll do something like, ideas. We'll say ideas is what you're grading. And then we'll put in our 4 different options here. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the different levels. We'll hit done. And you would just keep doing that. You would keep adding more questions to the form to build your rubric. Now, just like before, I've already done this. So let me drag over the completed one. There it is. Let's get rid of the test one. So here's the completed one where you see I've got select document. I've got ideas, organization, word choice, and mechanics. So again, you build out your rubric inside of the Google form. All right, so how are we doing? Step 1, we've got docs to grade. Step 2, we've got a rubric that has been saved as a Google form. Step 3, we need docAppender. That's an add-on, but this one is for Google Forms. So you actually have to be in your form when you install it and then when you run it. Okay, so it's actually going to be inside of Google Forms. And again, it's a one-time installation. So from my Google form or from any Google form, go to add-ons, go down to get add-ons. And again, we're looking for one called docAppender. And there it is, docAppender. We'll go ahead and click free, say that is fine, give it permission, allow that to install. Chugga, 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 it does its thing. Excellent, docAppender is there now. So if I go to add-ons, docAppender is there, ready for me to use. All right, I think we're ready to use it. We've got our documents to grade, which is our essays here. We've got our rubric inside of a Google form, and we've got docAppender added as an add-on to help us with this. All right, let's try it out. So I'm going to go to add-ons, going to go down to docAppender, going to go over to open sidebar. And when I do that, it's going to pop open a panel here on the side where the first thing it's going to say is, where are your documents? Where are all of these files you want to grade? Okay, because remember, it's going to take those and fill in our first question here where it says select document. It's going to take all of those documents and put them into that first question. So I can just choose from the form which one I want to grade. So basically what I can do is I can come here and I can pick from Google Drive the folder that is holding all of the essays. Well, that's what makes Classroom so nice. Remember, I told you if you use Google Classroom, inside of Google Drive, there's a Classroom folder with a folder for each class with a folder for each assignment. So there we go. I have inside of there all of the essays that have been turned in through Google Classroom. So when I run docAppender, my first step is to pick from Drive the folder I want to grade. So I click Pick from Drive. It's going to bring up my Drive picker. So I got to go find it. So let's see if I can locate it. I've got so many folders here. I might have to, I may have to just type it in if I don't see it very quickly here. That's always the issue. I have so many here. I'll sort alphabetically. We'll see if that helps me out a little bit here. Yeah, I know I've got too many, too many folders here in there. So let's go ahead and we'll find my classroom folder. That will help. We'll start with that. Let's open that up. And inside of there, we'll find the one for today's webinar. So Rubric Tools, there we go. There's the webinar for today. And inside of there it is, essay assignment. So as long as you can drill through all your folders and find your folder, that's the folder, essay assignments, that's holding all of those essays from Classroom. So I'll select that. And after I select that, I'll come over here to docAppender and hit next. And docAppender will say, okay, which question in your form do you want those loaded into? So where it says select question, oh, let me refresh my list here so it grabs all my questions here. There we go. From there, I will choose select document. That's the question I want it to populate. So I'll say save and populate that selected question and watch what happens. Remember how I created this question over here called select doc? Look what it did. Boom, it filled in all of those assignments for me. So it goes ahead and grabs those and throws those in for you automatically. How nice of it. Head back over here and hit next, and we're just about done. Next, it says, what do you want to include from your form? Which items are part of the rubric? Well, ideas, organization, word choice, and mechanics. Those are all part of my rubric. And that's it. Click enable, and we're all ready to roll. So at this point, docAppender has been set up. All I have to do to grade these essays now is open up the live version of this form, and I can start going through, picking a student's assignment and grading them with the form, hitting submit, and it will automatically add that right to their document. So let's try it out. So we're going to go up here to click on View Live Form. It opens up the live version of our form. The first step is to pick the document we want to grade. Let's grade test user 3. Now, before I do, let's open him up because obviously I can't grade him if I haven't read him. So I'll come over here, I'll open up test user 3. So I'll read through, oh, wonderful job, looks great, reading his essay. So I'm grading his essay, looking through it, reading it, looks good. Pop back over here to my form and say, let's grade him. So we'll pick test user 3, and he's going to get a 4 for ideas, a 3 for organization. He'll get a 4 for word choice and a 4 for mechanics. He did a really good job. Now watch what happens. As soon as I hit submit in the form, remember, there's nothing at the bottom right now in the essay, okay? But watch what happens. I come here to my form, I hit submit, pop back over to the essay, scroll down, give it a second. Boop, there it is. It popped in. So the rubric gets stuck right at the bottom of the essay from that form. So as I fill out the form, it just automatically sticks that right onto the bottom of the student's essay. Let's try another kid real quick. So let's go back over and open up test user 4, get him open, read through his and say, oh, not quite as good a job on this one. So for test user 4, we'll go back to the form. We'll click submit another response. From the document list, we'll choose test user 4. He's got a 1 for ideas, a 2 for organization, a 2 for word choice, and a 1 for mechanics. Hit submit, pop back over to his essay. We watch it, and boink, there they go. It popped that right in at the bottom. So basically, the way docAppender works is you're using a Google form to create a rubric. So there's our rubric that we build in Google Forms. Then you're using an add-on called docAppender to link that form to a folder, probably a folder in Classroom that holds all the essays. Then you're using the live form to choose which students you want to grade and filling in their grades. When you submit the form, it automatically sticks that on the bottom of their Google document. And that is docAppender. So quite a bit different than what we saw with Orange Slice. Orange Slice runs out of a Google document add-on. docAppender is a forms add-on. Orange Slice requires the rubric to be saved in a document. docAppender requires the rubric to be saved in a form. End result, though, we're still getting a rubric grade attached to the end of the student's document. All right. And you're going to see pros and cons to each one of these. And I'm hoping that once we finish the third one here, one of them will resonate with you more than the others, but I would encourage you to try them all out. And hopefully you'll find one that really clicks with you for what you're looking for. All right. Let me clean up a couple of my windows. Don't need all of these windows open now. Got quite a few of them open. Close out some of those. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our third and final rubric tool. And I saved this one for last. It is the most sophisticated of the three. So fair warning, if this was a pool, we are heading into the deep end of the pool at this point. So we'll go slow through it. We'll cover it in great detail here. But Doctopus and Goobric, this is the most involved of them, but perhaps has the most features. And so that kind of goes hand in hand, depends upon if you're looking for something that's really easy to use or something that may take a little bit longer, but has more features. So the way this one works is, again, same general idea. You have to have Google Documents to grade, which we do. We're fine. We've got those. This time, the rubric is saved as a Google Sheet. Aha, so it's not a doc like Orange Slice. It's not a form like docAppender. It's a Google Sheet, a Google spreadsheet. You create the rubric in there. Then you need another sheet, a blank Google Sheet that can be used to import all of your assignments, to suck them in. Then you need two tools working together. One is called Doctopus. That's an add-on for sheets, okay? Like Orange Slice was an add-on for docs and docAppender was an add-on for forms. Doctopus is an add-on for sheets. And then you need one other tool, an extension, Goobric. It's a Chrome web extension. And Goobric works together with Doctopus to allow us to do the grading of the rubrics. So fair warning, a little bit more details on this one, but I think it's worth taking a look at. So first thing we need to do, we've got our docs to grade. We need a rubric in a Google Sheet. So if you haven't played much with Google Sheets, Anthony has done a lot of webinars on those. If I pop to our recorded trainings, you see there's Spreadsheets 101 and Spreadsheets 102. So if you're not familiar with Sheets, please take advantage of those webinars. Those are right there for you if you'd want to learn more about them. For today, though, I'm just going to very quickly go into Drive and go New, go down to Google Sheets, create a blank sheet. And the idea is you're basically going to make a rubric in here just like you've done on all the others. So we'd put in, 1, 2, 3, 4 across the top. We'd put in things like word choice and so forth. Oops, I cannot spell today. Word choice and ideas and so forth down the side. And then in the middle here, where they cross, we would fill in those descriptors. Okay, so just a regular spreadsheet, nothing fancy about it. Just like before, I've already made one. So let me drag over the one that I've created. So here's a finished copy. Okay, so rather than the really quick demo one there, here you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got ideas, organization, word choice, and mechanics. And I've got filled in all of the descriptors of those different levels. So you do need to create a Google Sheet that holds the rubric. And again, you can reuse the rubric over and over and over and over again, but you do need to have a rubric created as a sheet. All right, so we've got our docs to grade, we've got our rubric as a sheet. Now, we do need a blank sheet that's going to hold all of the assignments. So if I go back to Drive, create a new Google Sheet, this is going to be the sheet that's going to suck in all of the assignments I'm going to grade, okay? If you want to name it, that's fine. We can come up here and just say webinar essays. And from this blank sheet, this is where we're going to install the add-on called Doctopus. Now, again, you don't have to do it in that sheet. You just have to do it somewhere, and it will show up on all of your sheets, and it's a one-time thing. You only have to install Doctopus once, but I went ahead and uninstalled it just so I could reinstall it for you guys here today. So let me go back to my blank webinar essay sheet. Going to go to add-ons. Going to go down to get add-ons, and I need to find Doctopus. Now, it's usually a pretty popular one, so you probably don't have to scroll too far, and I sure don't. There it is right away. Second row down. It may be different for you, but there's Doctopus sitting right there waiting for me. So I'm going to come here, give a click on the free button to install Doctopus. It'll pop up, ask for permission. I'll say, yep, that's okay. Let it do its thing, chugga, chugga, chugga. And when it's all done, there we go. Doctopus has been installed. Now, again, it's a one-time thing. You don't have to do this every time. For all of these, every time you install an add-on, that's it. It's one time. It's always there for you in the future. All right. Now, remember what I said. There's one more piece to this. We're going to have to install an extension called Goobric. We'll get to that. While we're using Doctopus, we'll hit a spot where it says, hey, if you don't have Goobric yet, click here to do that. So we'll see that in just a moment. All right. So let's do it, guys. We've got our essays. We've got our spreadsheet that has a rubric in it. And now we have our blank spreadsheet that's going to pull in all of the assignments. So let's do it. So Doctopus is up and running. If it wasn't, I could go add-ons, Doctopus, go over to the setup so I could launch it. It's already up and running. So over here on the side, my first step is to select the roster. And one of the cool things is in this dropdown, the first option is to ingest a Google Classroom assignment. CR stands for classroom. Ingest a Google Classroom assignment. So I don't have to type anything in. I just have to come here and say, hey, for my roster, let's pull in, let's ingest, let's import a Google Classroom assignment. So I do that. give it a second. It says, okay, pick which class this is from. Come down here and say, okay, this is my class called Rubric Tools for Google Docs. Then it says, okay, which assignment in there do you want to grade? And I say, well, I've only got one essay assignment, but if I had a bunch, I'd pick the assignment I want. Let it do its thing. It's chugging through. It's reading through the assignments. Once it's done, it's going to then give me an option to import all of those into the spreadsheet. And it says it found 9 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the ingest assignment button here. I love that term, ingest assignment. Doctopus is going to eat the assignment. So I'm going to click ingest assignment and watch what happens. Over here in this blank spreadsheet, it's now going to get populated with all the information about that assignment. It's going to bring in the student. It's going to bring in the name of the assignment. It's going to bring in their email address. It's going to bring in all kinds of stuff. And so now it is sucking all that information in. And so if you go across here, you see it's got loads and loads of stuff. You know, when was the last edited? What's the status? So it's pulled in all of those assignments. All right, we're doing good, guys. You're hanging in there deep into the pool, but we've all got our floaties on, so we should be fine. All right, so now what do? Here's that next stage I told you, attach Goobric. Remember I said you've got to have the Goobric extension here for this. Now again, I don't have it. I uninstalled it, so I'll have to reinstall it to show you how it works. But if I come up here now to the attach Goobric button, give that a click, it's going to open up a little window where it says, okay, what rubric would you like to use when you are grading this assignment? So 2 things here. One is pick the rubric you want to use. Now remember, I've got a rubric over here called Webinar Essay Rubric. So there it is. But there's something else at the very top. Remember I told you in yellow, the Goobric Chrome extension is required. Click here to install the extension. Now, again, this is a one-time thing. You would never have to do this again, but one time we do need to install it. So before I pick the rubric I'm going to grade with, yeah, one time I do need to do this. So I'm going to click here to install the extension. It takes me out to the Chrome Web Store. This is for Chrome, not Firefox, not Internet Explorer, not Safari. This is for Chrome. So be using your Chrome web browser. I can click Add to Chrome. And it's a lot like an add-on, but it's a Chrome extension. Click Add Extension, and it has now installed this little teeny Goobric extension up here in the top right. All right, so Goobric has been installed. So now, and again, I would never have to do that again. Normally, when I go to attach Goobric, all I have to do is pick the rubric I want to use. Now, because I've already got this one used in the past, I could just pick it right out of my list. So if you've got some common rubrics you're using all the time, just grab them right out of the list. But let's pretend that I didn't have it already in here. You can go over to My Drive, and just like before, you could hunt it down. So if I went to My Drive, and I said select from My Drive, it would pop up the little Drive window where I can go through, well, maybe, there it goes. Patience, Eric. So I could come here and I could say, okay, I'm looking for, I'm looking for the rubric called Webinar Essay Rubric. And there it is, Webinar Essay Rubric. And I could just search for it and select it from there. And once it grabs it, it will pull that rubric in to Doctopus. So be patient here and give it a chance. Patience is a virtue at this point. Yes, got to wait here. I believe it is doing its thing. I probably just need to wait here a moment. I believe it's doing its thing. Hello, maybe not. Oh, try one more time. Webinar Essay Rubric. Search for that. And there it is. Okay, select that. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. And there it is. Now, it's the same one that was in my recent list. I could have just picked it out of there, but I wanted to show you can go in and hunt it down. And that's it. Click Attach Rubric. And now it is associating that spreadsheet rubric with this set of assignments. Now, yeah, that's a bit of setup, but you're going to love the payoff, okay? What it does is really, really sweet. So I know that was a bit, now some of that stuff was one-time stuff. Some of those things you really wouldn't be doing every single time. It'd go a lot faster in the future. But once it's done doing all of that, then we're going to go ahead and grade this. And that's where I bet you're going to be really impressed. I am. Well, anyway, I love it. I think it's very impressive. So we now are ready to grade the essays. So how do we do it? Well, just like normal, you basically open up the essay. So I could either go to my classroom, and I could pick the next available essay. And again, I've lost track of which ones I've done. I think we're up to test user 5. Let's take a look. Is test user 5 the next one? I believe it is. Yes, it looks like test user 5 is the next one. So either open it from Classroom or go into Google Drive and open it out of Google Drive. That's fine. Or if you want, inside of the Doctopus spreadsheet, if you scroll over, they've actually put a link in for each of them here too. You could just click the link right here inside of your spreadsheet and that'll open the document. Either way is fine. So let me pop over here to the essay I've got open. So how do I use it? How do I grade it? Well, take a look, guys. Up in the top right-hand corner, what's there? It's the little Goobric extension, that little eyeball. He's up there. So basically, that means anytime I open up this essay to grade, I can come up and click on the little Goobric extension and watch what it does. What it does is it opens up a little special wrapper here, where at the bottom, I see my essay, and at the top, I see my rubric. And so now I can simply click on my different levels for ideas, organization, word choice, and mechanics. I can click on these. I can add comments. I can even record my voice and leave audio comments. Awesome. And then I can submit it and it will add that to the bottom of their essay. So let's try it out. So this student, we're going to give him a 4 for ideas. And then for organization, we'll give him a 3. For word choice, a 2, and for mechanics, a 3. So as simple as that. Just click right on them, boom, it fills them in. Come over to comments, maybe say something like, great job. And then I can even come up here where there's this little record audio button, and I can record my voice and attach it. Well, we'll do that on the next one. I'll just keep this one real simple. I'll just submit this one real fast, and then we'll do that on the next one so you can see. So if I just do nothing more than pick their rubric scores, throw in some comments, and click submit, watch what happens. Click submit, scroll down, and look, there it is. Right at the bottom of their essay, there is my rubric with it nicely highlighted, what score they got, and my comments at the bottom. Now, not only that, but I don't even have to leave this screen, go back to Classroom, open up a new document. Look what I can do. Right next to submit, there's a next and a previous button. I could click on like previous, and it would move to the student before. I could click on next, it would move to the next student. So I'll go next because we already did the previous ones. So let me go to student 6. So I'll click next. It automatically pulls up the next student in the folder. So now I'm grading test user 6. And I'll give him a 4 for ideas, and I'll give him a 3 for organization, and I'll give him a 4 for word choice, and a 4 for mechanics. And I'll say excellent for his comment. And now for this one, let's try to record our voice. Hopefully it'll work well here. We'll see. Go up and I click on the little record button. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and stop that. We'll play it back. I don't know if we'll be able to hear it or not. It may not come through. I don't know if it will. That's okay. If not, no problem. But then I can either delete it or I can save it to Drive. I'll pretend that I could hear it, and I'll go ahead and save it to Drive here. And there we go. That audio that I have just recorded is now saved to Drive. And when I go ahead and I click Submit, it's not only going to put the rubric at the bottom, it's not only going to put my comments at the bottom, it's also going to put my audio comments down there. So let's click Submit, and let's take a look at it. Let's scroll down once it does it and see what the student got. So he's got his rubric with the 4, 3, 4, 4. He's got my comments, and look at that. Boom, right there, a link right to my audio comment. So you can listen to my spoken feedback as well. So that is Doctopus working with Goobric. Basically, what you see here is a very different approach to all of this again. We're now using Google Sheets to make the rubric. Okay, so Orange Slice makes the rubric in a document. docAppender makes the rubric in a form. Doctopus Goobric makes the rubric in a sheet. We're then using an add-on for sheets rather than docs and forms, and we're using a special Chrome extension called Goobric. And all of those are working together to allow us to grade students' work. All right, well, that's getting us close to the end of this, but it looks like we've got some questions coming in. So as we begin to wrap this up, Anthony's been monitoring our Q&A doc. And so I want to see what's come up. We've got a question that says, when you ingest the Google Classroom assignment, will it pull essays that are not turned in when they are turned in? Okay, it does the ingesting at that moment, and you can decide what you want ingested. So if I come back here, and let me see if I can, here's look for new submissions right there. The first time I did it, I didn't mention, I'm sorry, there was a little box when I did the first ingesting that said only ingest items that are turned in. I did not even point that out. I'm sorry, because all 9 of mine were turned in. But if they weren't, there was a checkbox during the initial ingesting where you could say only ingest those that are turned in. Then from this screen, you can always go look for new submissions, and you can also check only search for files that are turned in. So yes, you could run this multiple times. As more students turned in their assignments, it would then keep pulling in the newly turned in assignments. So yes, that is correct. All right, Anthony, are there other questions or are there other comments that people made or something for the good of the cause for people here that might benefit from that?
It was worth all the work for Goobric and Doctopus.
Somebody said it was worth all the setup for Doctopus and Goobric. I agree. I think it is a really, really nice tool. But the point is, guys, there's a lot of tools, and these aren't all of them, but I think these are 3 nice representative tools that show you a lot of different options that are out there. And hopefully between these different tools, one of them, whether it's Orange Slice, docAppender, or Doctopus Goobric, will work well for you. I would encourage you to try them all out and see which one makes sense to you, and find out, which one's easiest to use, and maybe use them for different purposes. Okay. All right. Well, very good. Before we start to wrap up, anything else I see? Asking about the grade. Does the grade go into the Doctopus spreadsheet? It does record all of the things you put in there. So like the ideas, organization, word choice mechanics, the comment, yes, all of that does get recorded into the spreadsheet as you do that. All right, folks. Well, fantastic. Let's go ahead and we're going to start pulling this to a close here. So keep on heading here. Sorry about that. There we go. So again, thank you so very much for being here at our webinar today. As a reminder, all of today's webinar, all the webinar resources for today can be found. Whoops, not that link, Eric. Got the wrong link on there. How about that? See, don't look at that one. 217 is the wrong link. There we go. Let's get that fixed for you. All of the webinar resources can be found at tiny.cc/spark219. Anthony, I think we've done too many webinars. That's the problem. We got too many numbers to keep track of. All of the resources for today can be found at tiny.cc/spark219. Like we said before, that's where you can go to find the recorded webinar later on. That will pop you right out to the page on Rubric Tools. So you'll find the recorded webinar there, as well as all the resources we talked about today, including the session evaluation. Again, please take a moment, give that a quick click, very short, fill that out. We love to get your feedback, helps us improve these sessions. And don't forget, you can get a contact hour for this. Take the short little quiz there, 5 questions, pass the quiz, and you will be emailed a PDF certificate of attendance for completing this webinar. While you're at our tech integration site, like we said before, don't forget, check out the PD schedule of upcoming webinars, check out the previous recorded webinars, sign up for our newsletter to never miss out, and feel free to contact us as well if you have any questions or comments or need to get back in touch with us. All right, well, fantastic. Thank you again so much for taking the time to watch this session. We hope to see you again over the upcoming weeks for more education technology webinars. Take care.